Thank you. It's 10 o'clock on Monday morning, the 13th of January. And I hereby call the regular meeting of the Finance Standing Committee to order. We have a full quorum here, 5 members. Also, Chief Michael Berkey, Finance Manager and Administrative Department Manager, Spritz, Confidential Administrative Assistant, Haley Dodson, and I think we were expecting, and it's also Facilities and Resources Manager, David Aguirre, here today. We have on online so far, Steve Rao and Tina Dickinson are attendees. So this is, if you remember from the last meeting, I said goodbye to all of you. And so it's, this is chapter 2 of that. I think you're probably aware by now the decision was made, since it's not official, but, I expect to be chairing the new fire committee. The board will make that official, in the meeting in February. And, Deborah Scott, who is now president of the CCSD board, wanted, because she was quite busy with some other commitments and what she had to do, she asked me to stay on for one more month to chair the finance committee, which I'm doing now. So it's the long goodbye really is going to be over after this. I appreciate. Like to share. Yeah. So it's this is just one more, my truly last meeting, I think, with the finance committee. And all the members, the other bit of news, and I think David asked about this, why you're not, why we haven't done the process yet, completed the process of appointing new members. If you've reapplied, you might have noticed there's, that hasn't been actually officially done. The reason is that there were some last minute applications last week that were coming in, and we didn't have time, and I think that it's not for the fire committee, but the other committees didn't have, the chairs didn't have time to interview everybody and do the research and so forth. And so we're waiting to make the actual appointments official on February 13th. So, and I don't know who here has reapplied. I know something about who's going to be staying and not staying, but Deborah Scott's going to be, if you haven't talked to her already, she'll be the one you're talking to for interviews. Because she is the new chairman, unofficially now, but officially as of February 13th. So with all that said, kind of my chair report, I guess. We have a space on this agenda for ad hoc subcommittee reports. I don't think we need any at this point because the work of the subcommittee on long-term financial planning will go on. I don't know if you've been meeting. I doubt that. Yes. And the other subcommittee, which of course is the one about the allocation of administrative expenses, we have an agenda item which hopefully will finalize their task by approving the new language in the budget policy. So I don't believe there's any other ad hoc work outstanding. Denise, did you committee member, if asked for committee member communications, anyone have any brief questions, comments? Yeah.
And this
Cheryl.
is to put a smile on Chief Berkey and whoever else. I got a text this morning and I'd like to read it. And it's from my friend Ricky, who lives around the block from me. And her son Pat is on the strike team. And he sent a picture to her from the Cambria Fire Department, was right next to them working.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mhm.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting periodic updates every day,
Wow.
updates from the captain there down there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It might be good, Chief, might be good to explain what we're doing down there. What we have down, what equipment we have down there, and what we're doing with the services, because I've got some questions about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now. it's a good
Yeah, you
time.
might.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, so we, at the start of the Palisades fire incident, we were requested any resource that we were available, that was the entire county. They were already kind of trying to pre-plan a little bit, so they had engines already kind of heading down there, but we were unable to supply like a type 1, which is the main fire engine they see driving around town, but we were able to supply our water tender. The main reason is staffing, so we were able to send two people down on that versus 4 that has to go on the type 1. And so the water tender is exactly that. It's down there to provide water to, and I'm sure you guys are fully aware of the water issues that are happening down there. So those are critical elements or apparatus to send down to these types of fires, because they can supply the water. Basically what they do is they bring the water to the fire, dump it so that the crews have the ability to use it, and then they can leave the area and go grab more water and bring it back to them. So it's the same thing as like rural firefighting type.
Right. How
Operation.
much water does it carry?
It's 1,800 gallons,
1,800
yeah,
gallons,
which is
yeah.
actually a little smaller than most water tenders. Most water tenders can carry about 25 to 3,000, maybe even more sometimes. But for us, our water tender also has the ability to fight fires. So it not only has the ability to carry a lot of water, but it also has a very capable pump on it to be able to handle structure protection type of operations, and so that's the difference with ours. So we have more than just the water tender capability or water carrying capability.
So I assume you've been very busy down there.
They've been very busy.
Very
Yeah,
busy,
they've been working pretty hard, and
Which captain went down?
Captain Craig Brooks. Yeah, and then an engineer or acting engineer Will Stewart went down. So yeah, and like I said, I've been getting updates from them every morning as they're reassigned, because every morning they have to get reassigned to a different division or wherever they're needed. So they're very strategic about where they're placing them.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into fire stuff, but it is maybe also important to note that you have 2 people, a crew of 2 still here, and they can operate the type 1 engine if you have to, right?
We are fully staffed here at our department
Okay.
still, yes,
Yeah.
being able to provide the exact same level of not only ALS response, but also the fire engine and fire suppression capabilities.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Good to know. Anyone else? Keith?
Yeah, I have a question too, and I'm cautious about asking you because of how it may be interpreted, but there's obviously a cost because these guys aren't volunteers. These are our firefighters.
Yep.
They're on payroll and they're getting paid. They're working a lot of hours, so there's gonna, while there's only 2 guys, they probably put in a lot of overtime and stuff. How does that cost? Do we absorb that cost?
Initially, yes. So we front the cost of it, and not only the cost of them being sent down and the operations and all of those things, also the cost to backfill their shifts here at the station.
Yeah.
So, but what they do is there is a reimbursement process, and Ms. Fritz and I have been working on that the last couple of months, and we're hoping to finalize it today to update all of the information into the mutual aid response system, so we get that reimbursement.
Right.
And so what we do is when we enter that information, usually these are not only reimbursed across the board, but we actually we will gain money from that, from the responses going up. They're very, very beneficial and lucrative, for our agency. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm fully in support of all of it.
Sure.
Yeah. But I was just curious from a financial standpoint.
Yep. Yeah, it actually, it's a really good thing for our agency to be able to send engines out, because we will actually make money off of it.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't know if those guys volunteered, but thank them for all this.
Yeah, and finance is obviously a huge, that's a concern. But also the benefits of sending, you just mentioned the experience for them to be able to send out on that is extraordinary. And so it's very, it's a very great thing.
Yeah. Without that whole mutual aid system, it'd be impossible to fight some of these really big fires.
Absolutely.
It's a very well-developed system,
I gather they're in Topanga or one of those canyons. Where are they getting their water? I mean, is there a problem getting water to fill those?
I haven't asked those specific questions. I don't know exactly where they're
Where they
shuttling the water from. That's a great question.
I think we can move on to stay with finance. That's very interesting.
Yes, thank
Very interesting. We probably should move on to Keith. Anything else? Scott or Karen?
There will be
Or
additional
Dave?
discussion on this, I'm sure, at the RC focus group meeting.
Yes, and that is, and anybody, yeah, I think,
Which I will be attending.
and that's an in-person meeting, in the big hall, right? Oh, or is it here? Oh, it's here, it's okay, it's here.
We're meeting.
That'll be in person on, anybody can come, right? Anybody wants to
Yeah.
attend, on, the
And
20
Zoom.
and Zoom too. It's,
If you want
22nd, yeah.
link and everything. you need to let me
Fourth,
know.
the fourth Wednesday, yeah, yeah, that's obviously, be able to talk with them. So I'll move on here to the next item, which is public comment. First of all, ask, now we have also Deborah Scott in attendance online. Anyone in attendance here from the public, would seem to be no one. But also I want to know if anyone who's online wants to talk, and there's one hand up, which I'll see who it is. Oh, Tina Dickinson, okay. Ms. Dickinson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair Gray. Actually, I did have a comment, but my hand was up on the last item. So if I can just briefly address that, and then I have a comment for public comment. So I just want to address this to the fire chief. I would like to know, in light of everything we've seen in Los Angeles, if the Cambria fire hydrants are up to date on inspections, because it is so critically important. And I'd like to know if that's the case. Are our fire hydrants not up to totally being inspected and knowing that everything's okay? That's
First
the,
of all,
that's,
we'll finish your comment. We'll finish your comment.
well, that's related to that. Okay, then the other question is, where in the expenditure reports are CCSD payments made to Mission Country for CCSD's collection of garbage? The only thing I can find is going back to October 17th, 24. I found September 12th, 24, I found 2 items, admin, delinquent solid waste charges, $1,000.16. And on the same day, September 12th, admin delinquent solid waste charges, $3,687.98. So please inform me as to where in the expenditures I can find where the district is paying Mission Country for their garbage collection in the expenditure reports, because I cannot find it.
Okay. Since it's a little off the topic of our, the. Mission
Well, it's
Country
not
thing
on
is a
the
little off
agenda.
topic here, as is the fire. Well, it's not on the agenda, but it's also not on the purview of the finance committee.
What do you mean?
specifically. So
Come
I would
on, this is a
say,
finance item.
Well, we don't have the answer for you at this point.
Oh, my
obviously, 'cause
God.
It's something I don't think we have. So
Miss Fritz
you
is
should
there, I
submit a public records
understand.
Request for both items.
Ms. Fritz should be able to answer that right now.
I don't have that.
We
Oh,
don't have off the top, what I'm saying is we don't have the answer off the top.
oh
So
my
Submit a
gosh.
PRR, and actually for both, because the fire hydrant testing, we'd have to go back and get some more information on that too, as the current status of it. Maybe anything else? I don't see any bills online, thank you. That's it for public comment. Consent agenda comes up next, and the one item is the minutes. Do we have any changes, clarifications, corrections that would need to be added? Ms. Chris?
I'm not gonna vote on it because I was at the meeting. However,
Yeah,
on page 4, under 4A, the first line, the word THEIR should be THERE.
first
There
line,
was some discussion.
oh, there was some discussion. Okay, that can be. Oh, I see. Oh, I don't see it actually. Where was it again?
First line.
Oh, there was some, oh, I see, yeah, okay, I got it. And it's duly noted by our secretary. Any other changes? Seeing none, I could entertain a motion. Motion
we accept the minutes with the amendment.
One thing. And second by Mr. McCann, moved by Mr. Hendrickson, and seconded by Mr. McCann, they move the minutes be adopted. Or approved, with the one grammatical correction noted there to there. Thire. Could I have a roll call, Mr. Hendrickson?
Yes.
Mr. McCann?
Yes.
Mr. Chrisman?
I'm staying because I wasn't.
Oh, that's right, because, yeah, and Mr. Pearson
Yes.
and Ms. McDowell. Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention from Ms. Chrisman because she was not in attendance at the meeting last month. The next item is 4A in regular business, and this is the first of all, I should ask for public comment on the minutes. It's not often done. Okay. There's no public comment. 4A is the discussion and review of the fiscal year 2024-2025 second quarter budget report and a recommendation to the board of directors to receive and file. I'll turn this over to Ms. Fritz. Item 4A.
Okay, so agenda 4A is review and recommend the for the second quarter budget report. So the second quarter has all activity from July 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. There were no budget adjustments in this report or in this quarter. So with that, I think I'll just take questions. I don't have anything significant to point out.
Well, first of all, no, I'll note on the CIP list that we, this is a format, which is good. This is still the old format. We approved the new format at the board on, last Thursday. And there'll be one additional column, for source of funds in the new format. Otherwise, it's not changed in terms of content. It just looks nicer.
Yes.
Easier reading. Some of the explanatory stuff is a little more easier to navigate. So, yeah, any questions, Mr. Hendrickson?
I just wanted to comment regarding that and the discussion that the board had. I would just ask that, if the directors want something extra, I'm fine with that, but I would like to not have them delete anything from that report, because I use all of those columns when I do my evaluations.
Yeah.
So that would be my request.
Well, we're just adding a column and everything else stays, it's still there.
Yeah.
But it's still there. It's slightly more information, in other words.
Crowded.
It's about as pack about it as much as we can, but nothing's been taken away. Any questions on the actual second quarter report?
I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah.
Page 27. At the top, category 42 fees. On the franchise fees, Denise, there's 29,000 that have been used thus far for fiscal year. Does that have anything to do with this care program?
No, that is how much we have received from Mission Country in franchise fees so far this year.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah, that's what that line item is. It's the,
fiscal activity means an amount received.
well, and for this specific thing, because this is a fee, it's an income, it's a revenue line. So that is representative of what we have gotten from them in franchise fees.
Yeah.
So far this year.
Yeah, and isn't the case that the money paid out under the CARES program? Well, actually, that's a little different, but for say the water fees, sewer fees, that would be an expense item in administration. Isn't it?
It actually, they just reduce how much
They
they
do?
give us,
Okay.
so it's not its own
Yeah, I know.
line.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's with trash fees, it's all done through internally with Mission Country. We give them the information about which customers qualify, but then they just give them a discount on their own. So we don't see that money come through us. That expense item come through us.
It's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Scott.
And it looks like it's backloaded to the second second half of the year, because the variance, you know, we're anticipating more of those. but-
Yeah, I would have to do some research on how that money flows into us, every year, because it hasn't been on my radar as far as how that cash flow happens.
Okay.
But it seems to be back, like everything else.
It's a lot of,
Yeah,
most of our revenue, particularly from tax, looks like it's always a time.
the taxes are
you know,
definitely,
On these.
Yeah.
reports.
yeah.
And the crash fees are monthly, so there might be a little bit of a, you know, slight,
Yeah, I
You know,
can.
bunching
I
on,
can do some
bunching one
research.
quarter and not bunching in another, that sort of thing. A little bit of lumpiness. Keith,
Yeah, so I have a laundry list of things that I want to learn about again.
sure.
Okay. And so so if it's okay, I'll just go through those one at a time.
Yeah.
And I think some of them, I know what the answer is, but I don't want to assume that I know what the answer is. One of the columns is titled encumbrances,
Correct.
and the definition of an encumbrance is something that we owe that we haven't paid yet.
That we have obligated, I mean, that would be my language, is I would say we have obligated ourselves.
Okay.
To pay that, yes.
Yeah.
Through contract typically, or purchase order.
Then when we get to page 11,
So it's like a memo only field. It isn't, we haven't actually sent it yet.
right, or it would be in the expense line.
Correct.
Right.
It's page 11 of the, or
Big 11 on the right-hand corner on the bottom.
okay.
Okay, we already talked about one of the other questions I had, but I noticed that we come down to the expense categories and the ones relative to salaries. We pretty much always have something in the way of sick pay or holiday pay that shows up in those, but we don't budget anything for them.
Correct. Yeah, we don't budget because we don't know who's gonna take sick, we don't know who's gonna take vacation. So the budget for that is sitting up in the salary and wages. Because anyone can take time as they need it. So we don't know, we don't estimate how much is gonna be used.
Yeah, I noticed that was. common.
But that money is budgeted in the salary line.
But they're 100% of the sick and vacation.
No, I don't budget 100% of sick and vacation, but I'm budgeting 100% of people working 100% of the time. So if you choose to use
Right.
sick day, then that money doesn't come out of the salary line, it
Comes
comes
out
out there. Yeah.
Dollar for dollar. Okay.
Mhm. It's just hard to budget for, because I don't know what they're gonna use.
So that came up, I saw that on all of the departments.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that's- Okay, then on line 27. The interest on category 43 other revenues, it's actually the third item down.
Are you talking about page 27?
I'm just using your page numbers that are in the.
Yes.
Right, yeah,
It seems sequential.
those are the easiest one.
Category
The agenda number.
Yeah. Category 43, the first item, it's the interest income.
Mhm.
And so what caught my attention was the fact that it's 300% more than what we budgeted.
Yeah.
Is this all relative?
Well, I would say how I'm budgeting and doing, so that money is not all admin's money, it's gonna be allocated out to the departments. So I'm kind of working with the auditors to see what is the best, should I do it quarterly, should I do it annually, where I look at how much we've made and I will allocate it out to, like, some of that belongs to water and wastewater. So, but it's like a newer process for me, so, and we're also, I would say I budgeted based upon historical numbers, but we have a new investment strategy, and so it's gonna be more, and so after I have a full year under our belts, then next year's budget will probably be a little more accurately reflected of like what we're gonna get. But some of that 111 belongs to the enterprise fund. It just hasn't been spread yet.
Go ahead.
So further down in the benefits section of the workman's comp, which is the fourth line from the bottom,
Mhm.
that one's in the hole now. Did we have? Did something happen that because I'm not aware of any of the employees. So
I
that,
would have to look into that. I mean, this is in the admin fund and I'm not aware of anyone utilizing workman's comp and admin, so I would have to review that one.
For a lot of the, on the next page, on page 28. In, for the insurance. The amount, the budgeted amount, and maybe it's because of how that policy runs. But we've only used or we only have 1% remaining, so I'm presuming that that's like a single installment, or we
Correct.
paid all the installments?
We pay it all upfront at the beginning of the year.
Okay, yeah, because most of the items usually show somewhere between 40 and 60% or 100%.
Yeah.
See. On page 36. The very top line, and there's probably a real simple explanation, but there's for the Stewart Street tank. There's 3 different entries. Wait, this is 2 negatives and a positive on page 37. Did I say 37?
You said 36.
Well, sort of think about, yeah.
Oh, that was just, that's a budget line item, and I posted it the wrong way. So if you can see, 2 of those cancel out, so there's
Yeah.
only 1.
Yeah,
If
and
there's a $375,000 budget.
it was just a curiosity that in a lot of activity in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, on page 39. Just after the break, it's the EOL lot merger resource and another abbreviation. I don't know what that is. But again, it's one of those ones that jumps off the page, because now this one is, it's not a lot of money, but it's 200% of the whole.
Which line is that again?
It's,
6080 dash 10.
this, yeah.
Yeah, I would have to do some research into that again, and then also that would be a discussion I'd be having with the budget manager or the manager in that department. To say, are we under budgeting, or is this an extraordinary year? So how would we handle that for next year?
Yeah, because it's not a lot of money, but it's.
But, and also voluntary lot mergers are also one of those things that the expense comes when they happen, and we don't know really how many are gonna happen. So maybe last year there was less, and so, you know, we budgeted $1,000, but maybe a lot of people are merging their lots this year.
Okay.
I also think, and I would have, don't quote me on this, probably shouldn't say it aloud, but because I'll have to do some research, but I think we had a fund at the county where they just draw the money out to do these, so they can do them in a timely manner. We may have had to replenish that fund. There's something tickling in my brain that we had to replenish that fund this year. So that could be that as well.
Yeah,
So I'll
I
have to look.
I noticed there are two separate voluntary lot merger funds. One is out of what's called resource conservation, which is, I don't know what that source, that may be
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Well,
actually.
so
I don't
there's-
know, but in the water department is a separate item.
If you
separate
can
line.
see, there's a Department 10 on that first
Yeah.
one, and Water has always had that department, and they have budget in there. I don't know the history of
Yeah.
what resource conservation is or what makes them determined to put, but yes, you're correct. Like, there is money down in the water department that isn't being used, so I would look at both of those lines kind of together, so no lot mergers.
Same topic.
Yeah.
Same activity, I should say. Any more?
And Denise, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
That covers a lot of things, covers a lot of valuable stuff. David.
I'm a little behind. But you know, I didn't catch this previous 3 times we reviewed the budget, but on page 69. We have all the ECMs and their costs and all of that spread out, which looks great. And then line 16 says project duration and general condition costs. Is that part of the project?
No,
or
if
is
you
that-
look, it's a priority too. So this is something that was on there previously, whether it was on the list. And anything with a B is actually what it was budgeted for
Right.
and approved with the contract with PG&E. And
Right.
so these items 2 through 3 on here I think some of them were like technically when they did, PG&E did the evaluation, like some of them were ECMs. I mean, what I've been told is that, we only did a handful of ECMs that were recommended that we do.
Right.
So, I mean, I'll work with, when we update this
Yeah,
list
I
for
think,
next year,
that
maybe
needs
that.
to be, that is final design above that. I think those both need to be taken off of
Yeah.
this. I think they're rolled into that 12 million.
No, it's not. It would just be taken off. Now, I'm sure in those, every ECM that's listed there has budget for general conditions.
Yes,
So I think that just needs to be deleted.
yes,
It's not part of the.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That would actually improve the subtotal would be less than, it'd just be,
Yeah.
would be less, it would cover the same project, the actual lower total. That's good. Yeah, good to know. Any questions, Dave?
Nope.
Yeah, and,
I'm good.
Scott,
Everything else got covered, just going to page 33 in the report. Just on the water fund and wastewater. It seems to be some variances which are probably timing, but just give like a narrative on that.
Yeah, this is all, timing with revenue. And so what I'm finding with the district is in general fund and enterprise fund, it kind of like takes, till the third quarter for us to actually have revenues that exceed our expenditures. And I could do a historical analysis on that, but, I would say this is pretty typical for this time of year.
Well, just, even proportion wise, say, for instance, revenue under wastewater budgeted 12 million for the year, we're a little under 2. And for a 6-month number, that's.
Well, the 12 million is a little misleading because that includes the bond funding.
Okay.
So it's actually 4 million is for revenues. Yeah. So then if you look, we're halfway through the year, we're about half of the revenue,
So it's one of
give or
those.
take. And there was a rate increase in July, so the first, the
Biggest
first,
effect is one of those capital operating
yes.
type of
Mhm.
issues that I love so much.
So it is combined in that current total budget.
any other questions? Open this to public comment unless if there are no more questions. Anyone online, wishes to comment on this? I don't think so, anyone here? Anyone here in the hall? Move on to discussion and, motion. The motion would be to recommend this be, send on to the, board of directors for for filing, in February. I'll just, sum up the question, the result of the question. I think we did find 2 things, which would be corrected if we sent it on. One would be the one that, Mr. Pearson was just talking about, the line 16 and 17 under treatment plant projects and SST.
You want, I don't know if
Did
I
we-
should update the CIP list through this
Okay.
process. I mean, it's noted that
My,
when I work, because
Yeah, you need to.
those
find out.
projects are kind of owned by the utility manager, so I'll work with him to take it off
Yeah,
for next
in other
year, or
words,
like
if-
refine that list.
yeah, in other words, just make a note, to the
Yes.
board, make a note of the
Okay.
need of what you're doing, basically. I mean, you don't have to actually change the list, but that should be noted as
Yes,
a
okay.
potential. And then the one small, the, duplication of the Stewart Street tank, expenditure. And
Just note it.
just note it,
It's the
or
budget,
it's
yeah.
in the budget, just note that was.
And there's a few other that are missing in the budget.
Yeah. And those can be, I guess, it can be just noted to the board in the report or wherever that you give. Did anybody see anything else that would need to be handled this week? Ms. McDowell, yeah.
On the CIP list, I was under the impression that the Van Gordon Creek property was being used by the fire department. And the question is it still gonna be demolished or is it? What's this,
I don't know.
because it's on the list in 2 different categories.
I don't know the current status of that, and that would be.
I've been working with the chief. I don't think we're
Mr. McElhenney here.
moving towards demolishing it. Fire department needs an area to train.
Yes.
And so we've taken advantage of that property. They spent a lot of time clearing
I
all.
mean, we're slowly demolishing it ourselves, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we discussed, was to be able to, rather than just come in and pay somebody to remove it, we can come in and do a lot of damage ourselves just in the training that we're doing. And so we have been utilizing it quite a bit. There is a little bit of a setback because it's an older building, has asbestos in it, so we needed to make sure that precautions were taken prior to doing any of that. But other than that, our crews are out there almost every shift using that facility.
Well,
So
can that 50,000, 100,000 come off of the CIP list? Is that something that can be modified?
well,
I mean, not right now. We are going to begin looking at the CIP list for
Yeah.
25, 26, and I'll definitely bring that up with the
Yeah.
utility manager.
Yeah.
Might be less, but.
Yeah.
It might sort of fade away actually in the next, but yeah, as a point, or an important point to make, and I was a little bit narrow talking about changing anything. CIP list is the budget. So you can't just change the CIP list until you without changing the budget. It's part of the budget, so. Yeah, it's something, because the
And it's
budgeting
a
process is starting,
Document with R&I, so once we
right?
finalize it for the year, I really try and leave it alone and just make notes of like, let's look into this for next year, like the conversations that we're gonna be having about the vets hall. That might update numbers and stuff, but I really wouldn't update those. I mean, I would update those for the 25, 26 version.
and not everything in the CIP budget is budgeted in that
Correct.
fiscal year.
Yeah.
So the removing 50 or 100 grand doesn't really change the overall fiscal outlook for any given year
Correct.
unless we budget
But
for
it
it.
changes the category from 2 to maybe a 3 or 4.
Yeah, and I don't know
It
where
might-
it's
it
sitting
might
right now. It's at
adjust.
3.
Well, the two we were talking about earlier, we were talking about two items on, it was under, it was under the CIP, it was under the,
Wastewater.
wastewater, the SSD projects. Underneath that, there were two items that were essentially 16 and 17. Project duration, general condition costs, and effluent pump station, and final design, right?
Mhm.
Those two were duplicative of costs that were already
In the
incorporated
ECM.
in the ECMs, and so. What I was suggesting is that we. Point that out to the board when they get this report. But you can't change them, but taking them out of that CIP list doesn't change the budget because they're not budgeted items. And they probably won't be budgeted next year, but it does, as Denise says, it changes the outlook, like how much we're facing down the road. So, but it still has to be done as part of the budget process.
And Denise and I and Haley and everybody are working on that long range budgeting tool,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
this helps inform.
Yeah. So,
What page was
Yeah.
that Stewart Street tank?
it was underwater.
37?
37, yeah.
Oh,
And that's just a budgeting.
An error.
The
That
budget.
was an error. I posted the entry originally on the wrong.
We had more of those actually in the past. I mean,
Yes.
the system's getting gradually,
Well, with revenue,
Perfected.
when I'm budgeting revenue, I
yeah,
just,
I mean, it's the
I
Tyler,
got confused.
yeah, Tyler system. Um,
So this is a question for you, when the departments take and work up their CIP list, do they make a presentation to you and go over these line item by line item?
We
Or-
do it at staff level, as a management level. We'll
Yeah.
have meetings and talk about these upcoming requests and needs, and then they'll be incorporated in the CIP.
Okay.
And then
So-
R&I, it has a heavy review,
Mhm.
especially on the utilities side.
Okay, so on an annual basis, you're going back and
Yep,
taking.
it's definitely a living document,
Yeah.
you know.
And I have to say too, over the years with the shift in management and myself, and I think this process, we're honing in on how we're gonna do it. I think in the past with past management, it's been a little bit different on how it's, been done. And no, I just, the
It was more,
I don't-
more came out of the resources.
R&I, and I
And then
don't.
before
think
that, I don't
things
know, yeah.
Changed very much. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
things were changed very much. So, it's a living document. It's
Yeah.
a work in progress.
Yeah. Thanks. Any other questions? Well, I think it's time we can, if we have a discussion, we can have discussion, we'll give a motion. And the actual action we're talking about here is, action is to, review is to,
I got it.
yeah.
I move that, we, for the fiscal year 2024-25 second quarter budget report and recommend the board of directors receive it and file it with the, notes that, some investigation needs to be done on page 69 and 37.
That's a good way. Okay, what a good way to put it. We have a second. It's been moved and seconded, moved by Mr. Pearson, seconded moved by Mr. Hendrickson to forward the fiscal year 2024-25 second quarter budget report to the board of directors for to receive and file with the 2 points noted, 2 items that need to be basically alert the board reviewed, yeah, in addition. Have a roll call, please. Mr. Pearson.
Aye.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Aye.
Mr. McCann.
Aye.
Mr. Chrisman. Ms. McDowell.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. 5-0, sorry, 5-0. Next up, we have item 4B, which just follows up from our work last month on the overhead allocation. This is language that was in the budget policy, which is updated to reflect the change in the method of allocating administrative costs to other funds and other departments. So Ms. Fritz, you might want to just give a brief summary of it and show where it is on this document. And go from there.
Okay, so item 4B is our continuation of our discussion of allocating administrative overhead on page 75. I just want to reiterate, this is a draft, just so you can visually see what it would be. This is not what it's going to be in the future. This is
Right.
not, this is just an example of what this would potentially have done to the 23-24 budget. Just want to highlight, as you can see, the first allocation of administrative costs. In the first line, I have just made little notes to the side that includes the GM salary, admin department manager, and the confidential admin assistant salary. We have these other expenses that are broken out. And then under the SDRMA line, which is our insurance, I have noted here, as well as the legal I had just put under general. Again, this is just, so we'll have our retainer amount, which will go with the allocation on top, that is on top, the 22.5% and the 10% for F&R. Any other legal fees that come to us that are outside of the monthly retainer will be charged to the direct department that it is a relation to. So if our lawyers are working on something for water, it would just go straight to utilities, which is not how we're doing it now. So I made that note, as well as with insurance. If there's insurance, like property insurance and stuff that we can directly attribute vehicle insurance to the departments, it will now be directly charged to those departments and budgeted in their line. So I think that amount for insurance, the 200,000, is like general liability insurance, which will be spread according to the allocation. Personnel services is our position for my admin tech 4, who I put a note there, she does payroll and utility billing. So I'm putting a little more of her money towards utilities because she spends 35% of her time doing utility billing, and she also does payroll. As well as, I made a note here, our front desk clerk, we are going to charge directly to utilities. His job is 99.9% utilities. So those are some of the changes in the methodology that we have discussed in this group and agreed upon. And so if you go to page 79, I did a draft to change the language in the budget policy for the overhead allocation. And open it up for discussion.
Yes. Any questions, first of all, about either the, the revised, I said that Ms. Rich was explaining sort of a what if template for, if this is applied to a budget. And then also questions on the language that was, deleted and inserted basically in the section on overhead allocation in the budget policy. Any questions on those?
No, I think you did a great job.
Yeah.
Like this really clarifies, gets rid of a lot of the.
Mhm. Yeah, we saw this, this is basically, we took a look at this in agenda review, I can remember, so we had a first look at it. The basic change is taking out that recovery based on relative size of the department's full-time equivalent employees, that's gone. The rest of it, I think it's clarification, an addition of direct expenditures at the bottom there. Other, also making just, things a little bit more, precise and readable. Yeah, I don't have any questions either. I mean, it looks like, see a typo or something. I would listen to Karen Christmas.
Well, I have the usual questions about punctuation and consistency, but it has nothing to do with the sense of the policy.
I'm sure this could be quietly.
Or we can do our normal process.
This is going to the board. This is going to the board as a recommendation, so the board obviously will take this up and a very, very final version will come before the board. Is there any public comment on this issue among the two people who are attending online? I don't see any.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, and you probably already explained this in great detail that I completely missed, but the recovery based on the percentage of administrative labor. How are you determining that?
By assessing the time spent for this is specifically for personnel services and costs, so it's assessing time spent by the personnel. So like one of the changes that we're making based upon that is that the front desk position is going to be charged directly to utilities through in this testing.
Yeah.
And so, and then
She's gonna talk to the payroll person and say, okay, how much time do you spend on payroll for fire as compared to SNR?
I see.
and payroll also does utilities, so that her cost basis is being more charged to utilities than you and FNR because she's doing payroll for you, but she's doing all the extra duties for them. So I tried to separate that, and then I lumped us three together as a group.
Hey, Denise, at one time, I thought payroll was, the bank was doing the payroll.
I'm not aware of that, since I
When Pam was here.
no, Pam did payroll. And then she trained me how to do it. So she was.
There was talk about doing that at some point.
And before that,
having it outsourced, but I don't think it was ever
we had
outsourced.
a full-time position who only did
Yeah,
payroll. And we got rid of that position and now,
Mine did.
Miriam is doing both payroll and utility billing.
Yeah. So I don't think we ever outsourced. There was always talk about that now and then. I don't think it's ever been outsourced, David,
Yes, there
yeah,
was a
sorry.
conversation about sourcing.
Right,
but-
yeah.
To source it out. Yeah, I thought it was.
I do have, should we include in this what we're gonna do with the franchise fee? I
That's,
mean, that was the other thing that we brought up last time when we said that maybe we need a sentence in here, because that's kind of this last paragraph G talks about income allocation, property tax and other, right?
Mhm.
We added in here what we talked about last time, which was allocating the franchise fee to the general fund reserves. That's what we kind of
Well,
talked
that's,
about last time. I don't know if that's exactly what we want to do, but that, I think talking about where to put that income will be helpful.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last time, and I know I had one position, and then we were talking about potentially having it in general fund reserves. My thought is, and I know that it isn't maybe the most popular one, is we'll see what this legal case and precedent brings forward as far as franchise fees go. But they're not property taxes that typically the fire department, brings in. And I know there's some feelings about general fund monies that are being diverted away from the fire department, especially with a lot of their infrastructure needs that are ahead of us. 2 new fire engines that need to be replaced. My thought is that if well, this is recorded, but if those franchise fees were initially intended for road maintenance and things like that, that the Mission Country Disposal creates damage to, and those franchise fees are supposed to repair the roads, and obviously we're not charging roads. My altruistic side says, well, what could we do with that money for the community? Like the vets hall. Can we use some of those monies to start fixing some of the issues within the vets hall and show something for those franchise fees other than putting them in the reserves and then pulling on them when we need them? It's just a thought I had because this continues to degrade. I know we're going to talk about the CIP list for the vets hall, but using some of those monies for the vets hall and bring this facility back to where it should be in terms of floors, heating, windows. I mean, David will talk about, again, he'll talk about the CIP list in a little bit, but that was one of my thoughts is we can start using some of these franchise fees and put it back into the community, not just the reserves.
Not that much money either.
Well, it's $260,000 a year-ish or 200 a year-ish. Could do a lot for this vets hall.
Yeah, I was saying, I was pointing to the ceiling. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of, you can go pretty far, actually.
And I don't know.
I think, I don't know, I don't, we had kind of had a casual, little, it's actually in the minutes, I think, little part of our discussion, we sort of a general consensus about leaving reserves. Leaving it, I mean, for now in reserves, I think, but I think the reasoning behind that was that there's uncertainty about it. Going, reserves versus say, putting it into operational costs.
Reducing, so.
Like
I think
things that are
that
ongoing, you don't
was
want to
the
do that.
conversation.
Yeah.
We would basically reduce the admin costs that are distributed to everyone.
Yeah.
By the 200, whatever revenue, there's gonna be some, interest revenue too,
Yeah.
right? So do we offset all of the allocated overhead? So basically it would be, a benefit to all departments, right? Because we'd be reducing the cost basis. Or put it into general fund reserves. The policy previously kind of insinuated or was written that we could, the board, the general manager, and then hence the board could kind of make their decision year by year, right? Based upon the budget and what we budgeted for. And so from looking historically, we've done both at the district. We've kept it with reserves. We've used it to pay legal fees when the Windler case. We've used it to cover deficits and F&R. We've reduced admin overhead and, so all the departments, it was kind of like a year by year decision. So I definitely want whatever we decide to write in this policy, and yes, I think something should be written. I would love for you all to decide what you want to bring before the board, because obviously the board is going to be approving or not approving or changing that language. I'd like to do something a little more maybe generic and not specifically call out like that's all repair, because I feel like, putting it into the admin reserves then opens it up to be used through the CIP process to allocate it towards projects.
Right, so we put a sentence in there that says use of the franchise fees is at the discretion of the board of directors on an annual budget basis.
Yeah, and I would again generalize it maybe a little bit more to say all admin revenue,
So,
Oh, well,
because there's gonna be some interest income in there as well.
okay. Okay,
Basically,
And
you're
again,
talking
that's just my suggestion.
we're talking about unallocated, you're talking about kind of unallocated, not property tax matters, everything is
Yeah,
not
admin
property tax.
doesn't get any property
Right,
taxes.
so admin revenue is limited, it's basically the franchise fees
And interest.
and interest. Yeah, and nothing else, even like vets hall rentals are not admin, are they?
No, that
Or F&R.
specifically goes to
F&R, yeah, so,
so based on the fact that these fees come in monthly, a percentage of them come in monthly, it's hard to allocate until they're accumulated.
Well, through the budget process, we're allocating what we're projecting our revenue to be. And we do that with all of our revenue, right? Like you can see even in water and wastewater, we don't have all of our revenue, so we budget it what we expect it to be at the beginning of the year. Yeah, with a projected estimate.
Same thing with property taxes. They get-
Correct, yeah, they vary sporadically. We don't get, and we still haven't gotten the bulk of our property taxes.
That's why you'll see in the quarterly reports, we'll be in a deficit.
Right, we're waiting for December.
They don't give you a lot of it until April.
I know.
They
Amazing.
wait till, well, people wait till. it's good. Okay. So page 81, I think we're talking about at the end of that second paragraph, top of the page, minor sources of income. Is that where we want to put this, use of administrative revenues? Is that the discretion of the board on an annual basis? Second language? You want to put that at the end of that paragraph?
I was putting in G,
G, let's see.
which is.
Yeah, that's,
income
yeah,
allocation,
you guys are seeing the same
tax
thing.
and other.
You pay
Well, this is, G, I was reading G to the next page, so I think we're talking about the same thing, yeah. Yeah,
So at
So
the
there's like a-
discretion of the board and the general manager,
um,
or just the board?
the board.
I think the board.
Yeah,
During the budget process, ought to do that.
so use of administrative revenues is at the discretion of the board. On an annual basis in the budget process.
Yeah.
And that would be. I mean, the simplest thing is just to tack that on to the end of that.
Okay.
End of G, basically after, the other one, when the purpose is unspecified,
fiscal year.
well, yeah, an annual basis, yeah,
Yeah. This is the budget.
right, this is the budget policy, this is the exact allocation policy, I mean, so yeah, if we want to do that in addition, as a recommendation of the board, in addition to improving the language that's already put there. That'd be fine, yeah. So, does anyone want to, if there's no further comment or discussion, does anyone want to move in actions?
Well, I'll move. If you'll read that.
Okay, well, yeah, you'll move the two things. The one is my page is around in section, F, the overall, overhead allocation section, the changes as proposed in this, document now, we would recommend approval of the board. Additionally, at the end of section G, which is, income allocation, property tax and other, the end of that section, add the following language. Use of administrative revenues is at the discretion of the board on an annual basis, in the budget process. That sound right? Yep. Good. That would be the motion. I think, Mr. Hendrickson seconds. It's moved and seconded. Have the motion as just described, be approved. And made as a recommendation of the board. Roll call, Mr. Pearson.
Hey.
Mr. Henderson.
Aye.
Mr. McCann.
Aye.
Mr. Christman.
Aye.
And Ms. Udell. Motion passes 5-0. On to, the last item, which is the, CIP, list the CIPs, I should say the CIPs for the vet hall. And updating, as much as possible, updating the estimates. I think we don't have in our agenda packet, we have the old numbers. And some new numbers, I think. For Gary and, you have new numbers available, right?
David does, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe, this is on our page, our agenda, this is page 84. And the section there is, lines, basically from lines 14 to 21, I think we're looking at. Specifically the renovation projects. The sound system, is already budgeted, so I don't know, we can't really change that. But maybe, you want to present what you have?
I have the flooring in the room and the kitchen restaurant.
Okay, let's, do we have a handout or anything, or just?
It's just verbal. Yeah.
So go ahead, go ahead.
David was racing to get all.
Yeah, go ahead, just-
Quite a bit, I've been contacting
Yeah, we-
quite a few of the
just-
contractors.
Maybe turn your pages, turn to page,
Before.
84 of your agenda, so you can see what we're talking about there, under Vets Hall renovation.
So with the Vets Hall, number 13, the Vets Hall flooring, turned around and called a couple of different people and stuff and had them come out and look at them. And I got another one for next week, but where I'm at with the 2,900 square feet, it comes out to about 30K. That's about the average for everything for sanding and refinishing the floors. I'm working with one of the contractors looking into a different product of the waxing for the flooring, throughout the whole hardwood floors in the building.
At one point you mentioned you weren't sure how much more sanding we could do for the floors. Are we?
Correct. So we've already looked at it and you do have almost an inch worth.
Mhm.
So we still have a couple of years still within our flooring.
Fantastic.
So that's a good thing.
Book 50,000 just to be safe.
We could, yeah, half of what we've already, that's been projected.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good, I thought I was getting shorter. Should probably end.
Okay,
Yeah, because I know the one that I have two out of Paso and also another one from Tascadero
Yeah.
coming out.
The lot was out of Morro Bay, I think this eventually, that
Yeah.
did this couple of years back.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that one up.
Okay.
So with that one there, the re-roof, the entire of the Vets Hall. So I went ahead and looked into, called out a couple different people.
Mhm.
They said the main building, we still have roughly about 5 to 8 years on it.
Mhm.
The one here above this room and the kitchen needs to be redone. The sub-planoline is actually deteriorating, so we got leaks into the kitchen.
Mhm.
So and the gravel is actually removed and now we got seams exposed, and that's where we're getting down inside. We're affecting some of the spouts in here. So that one was 2,091 square feet.
Mhm.
That one came out to 15K.
that's the near term one.
Correct, correct.
I'm gonna
So-
put down 25,000.
Correct. Cause yeah, they came out, because with the new laminate, they put the foam board, different things that were gonna be doing, looking at it at a different angle.
So this
is just throwing it down the plywood and reapplying it.
This is not the entire building, then, so that we'd have to, yeah, this is, yeah,
Yeah, as for the whole building, the one quote that I got from the gentleman on there was gonna be about 58 with everything included, the
still,
whole.
still less than what we have there.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that was actually the same company that we ended up using for the fire department. Cause I know allocation that we had on there wasn't very much, but I know A&M, that roofing company did an outstanding job up there on the fire department.
So for purposes of, long-term capital planning, which we're getting, should we just put the 63 or
Well, maybe-
or 75 in, just to keep it as a, because it's still priority 3 right now.
Well, but what we might end up doing is breaking it up into
Okay.
two projects.
Could do that.
One that David, this area here is probably gonna be a
Two.
budget, could be a budgeted project or a 2 right now. And then the other one would be a 3. So I would break, maybe just break it up into 2 items.
Makes sense to do a floor if you have a roof that leaks on it.
Correct. So the only place that we do currently have leaks is the kitchen and also inside of the table room. In here, these here have actually, I've worked with these up here and changed out the caps. So I worked on that, so we don't have water coming in these anymore. But I know the re-roofing, the renovation of that is gonna be treacherous.
Okay.
So,
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
going down to the kitchen improvements, that one there, talked to 2 contractors on that one there. Just basically the floor plan that we already have going with the same thing. Stove, counters all the way around, the 2 sinks, and basically removing the cabinets came out to about 58 to 60 grand.
I'm sorry, but how much, what was it for? Just the cabinets?
It was all for renovating the whole kitchen in there, removing all the cabinets, putting in new, they would do the floor and then remove the cabinetry off the walls.
What about counters?
Yeah, it's everything with that. The
Counters.
counter, the center counter is all brand
Do
new.
we need any appliance work in there?
They suggested it, and that's where, yeah, I was kind of hesitant on that one there.
So the key here is, will it be a commercial kitchen when you're done?
Correct. That's what we're looking at.
mhm.
And what was the price you had on that? So I have cabinets, counters and floors.
That was 58.
What
58.
Yeah,
determines
60.
the commercial kitchen?
Oh, there's,
What is the definition?
There are certain guidelines that you have to meet and they have, the county comes in and looks at it.
Correct, suppressor system and everything that's above the hood, all that, that's all commercial. Because if you, like, the gentleman came out and said, he goes, you have to do permitting for certain commercial deals. He goes, that's the kind of question he has, like, you know, our refrigerator, we have a regular residential refrigerator and then commercial one. He goes, it should be all commercial in here, all the way across, because you already have a permit for everything between in there, that's commercial. You see, you just, you know, the other residential refrigerators just added to it, it was just a bandy apparently.
so that'd be an increase,
Yeah,
a doubling maybe, I guess, maybe roughly. Of that,
And we're not thinking about doing, appliances because of cost or?
I didn't really incorporate all that, that's a conversation I can have with them, because I know just getting it done and getting by with what we already have. He said, you know, the stove just needs to be gone through and cleaned up really bad. It's been sitting, I'll be honest with you, since I've been here, I've only seen it used 3 times. And you know, that's the question that I have, but I know when it does get utilized, it gets utilized, pretty big, for big events.
well, it sounds like with appliances, you're gonna have to replace the refrigerator.
Yeah,
Commercial.
the small, yeah,
Refrigerator anyway, is part of, so is that part of the 50?
the refrigerator is
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
The stove was going to be a questionable one because due to the fact of the suppressor system.
David, are those like common, openings for a lot of the appliances? You know, like, so if we upgrade the counters and there's still useful life on the appliances, we could. If one failed, we could retrofit easily.
Exactly, and the newer stuff is, I've worked with in the schools and stuff, they're really easy to work with. The Freon is the only thing you gotta worry about, which is pretty average. Motors wise and stuff like that, it's all in-house.
Okay.
And a lot of it's real simple.
And then footprints are.
Yeah, it's identical to what we already have here,
Okay.
so. The restroom renovations,
So what was the final number on the kitchen?
On the kitchen, the 58 to 60.
I
what
put
would
down
you-
70.
70?
In there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Cynic, correct.
Well,
Wow.
Change order.
well,
By
especially,
the time something actually comes before the board, it
Yeah.
might be a year or two and inflation, so I'd rather put
And
something a little realistic.
Change order.
And permits.
and
who
costs are
knows?
gonna go up. 'cause
I mean,
of the-
yeah, you're gonna have inflation. This is always, these are items down the road. After at least probably a couple of years, especially, yeah, I mean, maybe not the roof. The roof might be a quick, this coming budget, but these might be a little bit further down. I don't know.
If you don't take care of the roof, to your point, the floor is not gonna be $30,000 if there's.
Exactly, yeah.
It's gonna rot.
Yeah.
correct.
So delaminate or whatever, what's stuff that's gonna floor, but
And you can,
David,
and then was.
go ahead.
Yeah, the next one here is line 17, the Vets Hall restroom renovations, that one's still right there at 28. Still keeping the fixtures inside of there, just replacing the counter, upgrading more the tile, removing the tile, redoing the walls. And then putting in basically the same fixtures, so then you're just updating it.
So it's about, you said 28K?
Yeah,
So roughly, I don't know if you wanna,
yeah, where it's at that. but it's-
She's not
30.
28 days.
it's 30 now, it's 30 now.
About 35.
Yeah.
Oh.
You gotta put a little bit of
Pick that tree,
contingency.
Dave.
You got it, yeah.
Contingency.
Question on the flooring. Everything else is coming in fairly close to what the wild guess was back whenever that was.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, except for the floor. Was the scope of that different than what he's looking to do?
So the very first guy that I talked to, he did say, you know, he wasn't sure about certain replacing. Like, he looked at everything. He goes, you know what? He goes, you don't have enough meat on the flooring. So when I brought in the other 2 contractors, they're like, you will, you have more than enough on it to turn around and shave it down.
So when this was first created, there was a different manager for facilities and resources, and so this number was to replace all of the floors.
Or to replace it?
So now we're shifting gears to sanding,
Refinishing.
refinishing.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
This is,
So,
because this is all time too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yes, the way it is, yes, correct. The only issue that I know that I'm gonna come across, Mike Garcia is the one that I got another meeting with him. There's rock down here in the bottom end, down here, it has termites, where it used to have termites in this building, it has not been removed. So that's gonna be coming back within the next 5 to 8 years. So that's an issue that we're gonna run into, and that's a contractor working on this one here, so. Yeah, that's everything that I got.
Okay, so we didn't address the sewer line.
An electrical emergency, which.
Electrical
you could-
emergency.
You describe that, that would be
Or-
in this case.
So that's all water line, was that taken care of? I mean, I know they replaced some of that.
To my knowledge, no,
I don't know anything about how many.
I'll have to talk to Jim, and I remember Carlos was talking, it's the line that runs this way, and I'm not a water guy, but I know there's a line that runs this way, that's,
Oh, okay, they got one that way.
they
but
did that one,
didn't
yeah.
Yeah.
Go this way.
So what is electrical emergency exactly? What
That
are
was
we
that was
describing there?
something, I believe with American Red Cross running a generator. That was going to be wired into the panel out here to
Yeah.
generate this so that we can use it as a shelter.
Shelter,
Yeah,
okay.
so we're still missing a lot of stuff, right? We're still missing
Mhm.
ceiling work.
Oh, all the interior walls.
Mhm.
We're talking about repainting and also the heating. No air conditioning, obviously, we don't need that really, but the windows on that side of the building,
Correct,
most of them you can't open anymore.
correct.
And they used to be used when it was really hot in July to, get a little breeze, right? Because if you turn on that huge fan, then you can't hear it. It's really an effective thing.
Yeah, there's quite a bit with the interior, and then if we talk about eventually having it be suitable enough for emergency evacuation center, more outlets, when I looked at FEMA, there's requirements for access for different electrical outlets, because they're far and few between, even in this room and in the main hall as well. There's a lot that needs to happen interiorly.
I think.
So last week at your board meeting, you talked about grants.
I always talk about grants.
We're always we're looking for grants. We got a grant guy.
Grants?
There's,
There would be, because it is a historical building also, so there's certainly. Yeah.
But this,
Looking.
but this, because the CIP project, CIP list is not, doesn't cover, well, the source of incomes, the term of source of income just means it's F&R budget, but yeah, we always look for grants for,
I didn't realize that.
facilities and resources this is a good prospect for grants. We have to figure out how much, first of all, how much we need to do and how much it costs.
200,000.
I don't know, because we're talking about other stuff. This,
You haven't even touched the inside.
Well,
we haven't touched the inside, and this, and the sewer line is been a longstanding issue, hasn't it? It's been. We haven't gotten an estimate on it yet, but I don't know where the 40,000 comes from. It's been there a long time.
Yeah, that was John's estimate.
Yeah,
Because I know the sewer system that goes outwards to the corner over here is zigzags. It drops, comes backwards. There's so. It is unbelievable. You can't even run a snake in.
Not optimal.
It's.
you need a lift station, or something, right?
Is
Anyway,
there
so
anything that needs to be done to the outside of the building, such as for the siding or painting or
Yeah.
gutters or?
That's the main thing is, I know the only section that does have gutters, it's off around this section and also around the front. A little bit around Legion, in the back.
Mhm.
But yes, painting, updating the exterior is gonna be one, and gutters. That's gonna be a big thing. This deck is one that I'm kind of concerned about too. And it's gonna need to be redone too.
It's not that old.
I think,
Yeah, it's not weather
That deck.
sealed, yeah.
Okay.
So, cause like even the ramp, that's the other thing too, the ramp on the side. I know it's done with wood and screws, but there's only so much you can get out of that.
Yeah.
So those are things I'm kind of,
my sense here is that we've started scratching the surface. We're starting to, almost like looking a rock up here a little bit and, getting these items, these, 1, 2, 3, there are five items we've gotten some estimates on, or 4 items. We're realizing at the same time that it's just the start of the work that needs to be done in the vet hall. So I don't know how we go from here. It's great to have these new numbers. We have a little sense now that the stuff, these specific items, to get a better sense of their cost, but we're also realizing there's a lot of other stuff to do. I don't know if we want to make any sort of definitive recommendation other than we've helped Ms. Fritz with some budget lines, going forward. But I think if I had to direct the board to do something, it would be to, just examine everything and what needs to be done and then prioritize it. Like, for instance, the roof up here, that's a top priority, high priority. Some of the things may be high, some things may be down 5 years out. But we do need a plan, I think, to address everything that needs to be done over time, reasonably over time. I think that's where that strikes me as the message here, especially for the roofing, for instance. There's two things, there's basically two projects, one near term, one longer term. We can do that model for looking at the entire building, actually inside and out, and just come up with a plan. And then again, you got the plan, you got the estimates, you've got the work done and design and stuff, then you got grant applications you can do.
Well, to get the grant application done, you're gonna have to have a number that
That's what I'm saying, we have to have numbers for all these things, all these things, yeah, exactly.
and that one big number has got to include everything that you're going for the
So you're
grant.
gonna package it.
Yeah, and that's the right way to go after a grant. You ask for $1 million, but you've got to have backup for that. So
Yeah.
it may take a consultant or somebody to come in here and give you a number to do the whole. to do
That's a
all the
wish
work.
list though, but we gotta
No.
take care of what's above.
Well, I know, so that
that's
they
priority.
can do, but
That's the
to
extent.
get the entire thing done, you're gonna have to have one big number, and it's gonna have to be something that the grantor is going to believe. And so you've gotta have some kind of documentation to back that up.
And you're talking about matching funds too.
Maybe
But
not.
just to
Sometimes
get
you have to have matching funds, sometimes you don't.
But I think where we are now, we're just really really starting on this. There's much more to do in terms of just items. CIP basically, capital improvement projects we need to do. There's a bunch of others, indoors. So,
There's even foundation issues that we have over here.
I mean, it's sagging.
What's in the parking lot?
So I'll send this back,
The ADA, all of
get us back to committee, for, just some sense of what we want to do now, in the sense of what we want to communicate back to the board now. We've gotten some useful numbers for short-term revisions on some of these items, which is good. We just incorporate those into the next budget. It doesn't have to be done informally, just our finance director right here, she could do that, but what else do we want to recommend?
With regard to Cheryl's concern and Dave's concern, can he get started on some of these things, spend some money, then have it reimbursed through part of a grant that comes later? In other words,
That's tough, right?
okay,
That's tough.
right, that's,
Yeah,
okay,
they don't like to do that.
right.
which you've already.
Yeah, so they've already, okay. So
They're generally reimbursement process to spend the money and get it
future
back.
need is better than past.
Yeah, well, it's one of those, well, you had money, why would you give me that?
Yeah, we had to take one month places. Anyway, just, no, honest question.
So as we start to compile that, if we had a group that did, we need to know what the final product needs to look like. I mean, I've heard talking about it being an emergency facility. If it is gonna be an emergency facility, there's a book of rules for what that thing has to be built like. Right. And so if we have to be careful not to, not to take and put a roof on that doesn't meet the criteria for the emergency plan, for emergency building. I mean, you can put a composite shingled roof up there on the part that's not flat. And it does, but it doesn't meet the criteria to satisfy what an emergency building is. Then you have to take and replace the damn thing and just throw money away. So we need to know what we want when it's all done and build to that. I think that's.
I think the next finance committee needs an ad hoc.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say,
To really look at
the incoming chairperson, she doesn't have to say anything, is listening to this. And I think what Mr. Pierce has said is actually exactly what I was thinking. And we have some people who, if they're on the committee, be great on the ad hoc. We are. To develop that plan, first of all, based on what we want to use the VEPS all for. well, so obviously the thing they're using for now, but also if it's gonna be an emergency center or something else. Making sure the standards are met, inside and out, we need to do, and come up with a vet hall renovation improvement plan that can be, obviously the board can, adopt it, and it can be then the basis for grant applications as well as, some of our own spending. So, but an ad hoc committee for that, that would be, the new board, so that wouldn't be appointed today, right? But it would be the new board. And direct board of directors, CCA board of directors to have that as an item to an assignment to the new committee, basically. That's what I would say. To the new committee, yeah.
Because it's kind of more related to fire.
And related to a lot of things. Yeah, it's related to FNR and fire too, yeah, so. Does anyone want, I don't know what kind of,
Yeah.
you want to make a motion of some kind?
Yeah, I think the motion is, and again, thank you, David, for updating this. Especially the stuff that can be done sooner than later, I think we're gonna move ahead with those. So, first, with the new budget for 25-26, update the CIP list for the
For the vets hall renovation,
that's all
Renovation
renovation
items,
need to be done next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
25, 26.
and that would.
And, assign the finance committee to have an ad hoc committee to address the use of the vets hall, the grant opportunities for the vets hall, and the budget to accomplish the necessary renovations.
I would say just direct the finance committee, because the finance committee will, they may have one, or they may have a couple of ad hocs on that if it's a, but you're the exact, with just saying direct the finance committee to do the, I have to repeat that, I guess, if I can repeat that, there's three things basically.
Yeah,
Direct them to
use of the hall,
use the hall.
grant opportunities, and an overall budget.
Yeah. So, the motion, this is a motion, is to. This basically is two big parts to it. One is to direct the, finance director to update in the next budget. To update the vets hall renovation estimates. According with, in consultation with the facilities and resources manager. To the extent, we can update them, the ones that are in the budget and the ones that are in the CFP list for the 2025-26 budget. And then to direct the finance committee to develop, what is it, the use, develop a plan for use of the vets hall. And then a revised, an update of all this capital improvements, all improvements that need to be made to do that essentially.
Right.
And then to,
Address the
address grant, direct the, address grant opportunities essentially. So it's basically a three-part thing, a plan, budget, a budget for it, grants. So, that's the shape of the motion, and since it's made by the secretary, he can debate it.
Yeah.
He can clean it up. Yeah. I'll take a roll call, Mr. Pearson. Mr. Hendrickson, aye. Mr. McCann, aye. Ms. Christensen. Aye. So, okay, why?
Why? Because, and I'll explain my thought. This needs to be done. The roof needs to be done ASAP. He has a quote for it. He has, and these contractors only hold their bids for X amount of days. You have revenue coming in from franchise fees. You talked about using,
No, I'm going, yeah.
you talked about using the franchise fees. This could be done. You could single the roof out. You're talking about 30,000. Which is it's really a drop in the bucket compared to everything else you're asking for.
So you're voting no, you're voting no, but I think maybe the way to address that, because it's a good point. It's a 4-1 vote, I'll record it as such, But about updating, when we're talking about updating the CIP list in the budget. It's a budgetary decision, as part of, it goes with the budgetary decisions, what to budget this year, this coming year. And that, the short-term roofing job may simply be
I think it can be two different things. Like,
reclassified
I think that
on the
what you're
CIP list.
directing me to do with the CIP list is more like long-term planning, whereas at any time. We can move forward a request for a budget adjustment to do a particular emergency job. I mean, we did it for the fire department because the guys were having water leak in on them while they were trying to sleep, so we had to do that. So if this is deemed, so it's like, I think it's two separate things, like both of them can be true. We need to do this short-term roof replacement, but we also want to do this updated CIP list to talk about the use of the vets hall and the long-term
The motion,
financing.
the motion has nothing to do with whether or not we fix the roof.
Correct.
That's what I was saying,
Yes,
'cause-
yes.
and also, I mean,
We'll do that, sorry.
oh, so you go ahead.
We'll do that through the budgetary process. We'll work with David and say, David, how much time do we have with this roof? And if we budget $30,000 in the next fiscal year, then that would fall off the CIP list and we'll move forward with the motion that was carried out
Yeah.
today.
Or
This
we-
isn't a decision on
Yeah.
whether or not to do the roof. This is a
Yeah.
moving budgetary.
Or it would be a B item on the CIP list, basically. It would become a B item. So it can always be done. In other words, this can always be
Yes.
done irrespective of this other motion. But if you still want to, I always appreciate when people vote no when they explain it. I don't like when people just say no and you don't know why, so.
Explain.
And that makes sense.
A voice. and
Yeah, but it's a concern that I think we can address, but, so I'll keep it as a 4-1.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. It's, I think, future agenda items, yes, future agenda items, which is, again, hello, Deborah. Out there in Zoom land. This is probably directed more to the next chair, but does anyone have, and of course, this vets hall item came out of a future agenda item, so, it's important stuff. Does anyone have a future agenda item to propose for a coming finance committee meeting? Other than the vets hall stuff, we're already sort of, want the board to do and bring back to us. Anyone have anything? There are no future agenda items proposed. I think that takes care of it. So at this point, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all the great work you've done during my time here.